Good evening, and welcome to this League of Women Voters Forum for the candidates in the November election for the City Council of Forest Lake. My name is Liz Nordling, and I will be moderating this forum tonight. As a trusted volunteer organization, the League of Women Voters does not support or oppose political parties or candidates. We sponsor forums like this to provide voters an opportunity to hear candidates' views about issues of interest in the upcoming election. This forum is being broadcast live by Lakes Area Community TV on Channel 20, and it will be rebroadcast. Playback times can be found online at www.latv10, and 10 is spelled out, .com. So latv10.com. The order for speaking tonight will begin in alphabetical order and will be rotated thereafter. Candidates' remarks are being timed to assure equality of time, and questions are being collected from the audience. Our candidates for City Council are Dennis Batty, Kathy Bystrom, Melanie Castellano, Connie Grabovi, Brian Heil, Tim Miller, and Kelly Monson. All candidates were invited. Brian Heil and Melanie Castellano are not with us tonight. All questions at tonight's forum will be provided to the candidates, and we have printed either the website or email address of each candidate on the handout. We will begin with opening statements, and we will start with Dennis Batty.
Hi, my name is Dennis Batty, and I'm running for City Council. My wife Bev and I have been residents of Forest Lake for 19 years. We have 3 grown children and 5 grandchildren. I've been a registered architect for 45 years and owned and operated my own firm, Dennis Batty & Associates, here in Minnesota for 42 of those years. In the process of completing my 6th year as member of the Forest Lake Planning Commission, and have been an active part of the current 10-year comprehensive plan review process. As an architect, I have been the lead planner on more than 400 projects and have participated in hundreds of planning commission and city council meetings over the years, working with the clients that I have served. I want to be part of a city government process that makes things work well for the citizens, businesses, and institutions that are already part of the fabric of this community, and for those who would choose to join us in the days ahead. Ultimately, I believe in and want to be part of a common sense city government that proactively pursues growth opportunities and at the same time earns and protects the trust of its constituents.
Thank you. Next with her opening statement is Kathy Bystrom.
Hello, I'm Kathy Bystrom. I'm a lifelong resident of Forest Lake and graduate of Forest Lake area schools. I've recently been traveling around the state, talking to residents and leaders of communities for my work. Often the conversations start with small talk. I mention where I'm from, and nearly everywhere there is a collective groan, or a comment about us disbanding our police department, or our failure to approve the mental health facility, or conduct at city council meetings. We need to change this narrative. People are tired of the discourse. They want positive, functional government. We need to restore our reputation locally and beyond. We need to make Forest Lake a vibrant destination to live, learn, work, play, worship, and do business. My platform and vision is driven by priorities and core values that are included in our comprehensive plan and through conversations I've had with community members. I look forward to sharing the details of my vision tonight and in weeks to come.
Thank you. Next with her opening statement is Connie Grabovi.
Hello, my name is Connie, and I am running for City Council, and I am requesting your vote to represent you as your City Council person in Forest Lake. And I am a 1987 graduate of Forest Lake. I served in the military. I'm a registered nurse, and I have seen many things in my years, not only in the military as a nurse, as a 911 dispatcher for Washington County, in regards to leadership. And what I value in leadership is civil discourse, respect, and also listening with ears to hear what people are saying. And I believe that is something that we need to focus on, and one of my main platforms for running is that civil discourse, respect, honesty, transparency in our relationships, and healing this community by listening to the people that know it best, and the people that know it best are the people that live in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next with his opening statement is Tim Miller.
I thank you for being here tonight. I'd like to also thank the White Bear Lakes Area League of Women Voters and for providing this opportunity tonight. Many of you don't know me, nor I you, but I hope to change that tonight. My name is, again, Tim Miller. I've been a citizen of Forest Lake for a short 2 years. What brought me here to this great city was the close proximity to the metro for work, but also the destinations, the lakes, the parks. I've had a chance to work on the Parks Commission now here for going on 6 months or so, and that's given me the opportunity to learn about the needs and the issues that are facing the city. There's much to be proud of here. It's got a great history, and it seems like everyone loves this city and plans to retire here, and I do as well. And I want to thank you.
Thank you. Next with her opening statement is Kelly Monson.
Good evening, everyone. I would first like to thank our host for the evening and all of you here watching and those watching online. My name is Kelly Monson, and I am running for Forest Lake City Council. I believe I have the education, experience, and professional skills to bring to this role. I have advanced degrees in education and public policy, and have worked in state government, or worked in public service for over 20 years, 10 years in the state government. Yet most importantly, I have a love for this community. My husband and I and our 2 children, who are here in the audience, moved here just over 4 years ago. We moved here because we love the small community feel and feel like we can bring a fresh perspective. For many years, we have seen that we have chosen sides rather than work towards solutions. At times, it has felt decisions made did not support the common good, but only a select few. This divide has caused us to miss opportunities that support our local economy, improve the health and well-being of our residents, and turn Forest Lake into a destination city. As residents, we can't afford to continue working in this manner. We need to work together to change the narrative around Forest Lake. As your candidate, I vow to bring transparency to local government and decision-making, a process for authentic community engagement, and a collaborative approach to building partnerships to move our community forward, so it's as good as it sounds.
Thank you. The first question will go to you first, Kelly, and it is, what do you see as the top 3 issues facing the city of Forest Lake?
I would say the top 3 issues, I would start actually with the divide that's in our community. In order to even think about things like economic development, our downtown area, our schools, we need to bridge this divide in order to move forward. Secondly, I would say that we need to make sure that we are bringing in businesses and that we are also supporting our schools.
Thank you. The question now goes to Kathy Bystrom.
Well, I would agree that I think we have a lot of healing to do in our community. I also believe that in order for us to grow, we need to really take a proactive approach to community development. We need to really prioritize the investments in attracting businesses, attracting residents to this community, ensuring that our community is business friendly, ensuring that we have a degree of livability in our community, access to housing, good neighborhoods, safety, security, clean air, water, and attention to our wonderful assets. I also think that we have an opportunity in development of our quality of life, and we want to be sure that we are recognizing the importance of strong schools in overall community development and doing what we can to support their success.
Thank you. The question now goes to Connie Griboldi.
So one of the things that I feel is an important issue is rebuilding trust with the community. And how do you rebuild trust with people once it has been lost? And I think that comes through transparency, it comes through being willing to engage in hard conversations with people. It comes in listening to people with an ear that wants to hear their solutions. So some of the things that I have been doing is meeting with people, asking them, what are your ideas? Because inherently, people that have difficulty in the community have thought long and hard about how they would solve that problem. So I think listening, again, is key. I also think that we have some infrastructure needs that need to be addressed, particularly some roads and some other things. And I also think that a process for people in the community to have their issue, concern addressed quickly and efficiently is needed. So I would advocate for that.
Thank you. The question goes to Dennis Batty.
Okay, first of all, I think that one of the main goals of the new city council needs to be reestablishing trust with the community. I think that can be done. It's done by being transparent. It's done by being open and honest about issues. Second, we need to be more proactive toward development, and that's both business development and also developers who want to come in and develop new homes. We have to be proactive in that. We can't just sit back and let them come to us. I think we have to develop a plan for reaching out to them. Third thing, we have a wonderful atmosphere for education in this community. I think we need to do everything we possibly can to foster and strengthen that by strengthening the schools that we have here.
Thank you. The question now goes to Tim Miller.
The top three issues, in my opinion, are maintaining and improving upon the services that the local city provides. Roadways are a common topic that comes up, improving those, improving the infrastructure around it to attract business and encourage economic development. Maintaining the parks, improving upon the parks. I know we've got a lot of things going on and still a lot of work to do. Protecting our assets, which is part of that. I think we can do more to protect the lakes, the trails around them, and make it an inviting place for young families to grow and bring in residential development as well as commercial development.
Thank you.
Liz,
Yes.
has a rebuttal.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
When you get the first question, it's hard to just jump right in, and I realize I did not say my third area. And really for me, it's about innovative partnerships. When I read the community survey, I saw how a vibrant downtown was important to everybody. It was really ranked really high. And I think in order to do that, we need to partner not with developers, with residents, especially residents. We need to hear what you want to see down there in order to make this a place where people want to come, they want to visit, they want to spend their money here, and they want to live. And with that, I would say one of the big issues is our parking downtown.
Thank you. Anyone else? Additional comments? And we'll move on to the next question, and it goes to Kathy Bystrom first. What is the biggest challenge to starting and or growing a business in Forest Lake? And what role should the government have?
I think we have to remove barriers to starting businesses in the communities. Taking a look at our policies, our zoning, our planning rules and regulations, and make sure that we make this a business-friendly community. I hear frequently that we export our talent, that individuals want to take their skills and their expertise out of our community. We need to stop that from happening.
Thank you. The question now goes to Dennis Batty.
I've started my own business. I didn't do it here in Forest Lake, but I know one of the things that is absolutely crucial is that we create an atmosphere and environment where people want to come. That if there is no reputation, if a city does not have a reputation for being business friendly, people aren't gonna come here. It's not, that part of it is not rocket science, and I think we have to do better at being proactive to reaching out to business. I think our comp plan needs to identify things that we want to draw in, and then we need to work towards use whatever you want, bringing them into the community, and I think it's possible to do that. You look around the state, look around the metro area, you see communities that are well-balanced, and because they are proactive in reaching out to a very broad base of businesses.
Thank you. The question now goes to Kelly Monson.
So I would say that the role of the city is really to provide the infrastructure and leave the investors to do the developing. And as providing that infrastructure, one thing I would say is we need to cut some of the red tape for those who want to come and build their business here in Forest Lake. We need to make it easy for them. And then I also think we need to, there's a lot of requests out there for different things like Caribou's and Paneras and things like that. And I would say we need to first look at what are our local businesses that we have here. And we need to let the market drive the economy and the business that are here in Forest Lake. And I would say too, like Dennis did, we need a welcoming atmosphere.
Thank you. The question now goes to Tim Miller.
Yeah, I'd like to echo the other candidates' comments on that. I think it's of utmost importance to create an atmosphere that businesses want to come to. There's plenty of opportunity to bring business in. We just need to cut the red tape, make it a little easier for the people to get started. And we need to fix the current infrastructure. Parking brought up downtown, and make it an inviting place that people want to bring in a business.
Thank you. The question now goes to Connie Grabovy.
So I recently had the opportunity to meet with a developer who was going through a process here in Forest Lake, and his biggest concern about his process as he was going through it, and is still going through it here in Forest Lake, is the fact that the process is not clear. That he felt like he could get halfway through the process and feel like, well, maybe this thing is going to go forward or maybe it won't go forward. So I think when it comes to any business or a person that wants to come into Forest Lake to develop or to start a business, we need to very much have a process that is clear, that is a transparent process again, and gives the people steps that they can take so that they know by the time they get to City Council, their concerns, City Council's concerns have been addressed, and they can move forward in the process, especially after investing time, money, and manpower into a project. And then secondly, the role of the government. The role of the government is to get out of the way of small business so that they can do what they're best at, and that is to run a business and produce things and employ people.
Thank you. Does anyone have any additional comments? Kathy?
I'd also like to add that I think one of the barriers for businesses here is the fact that we really kind of lack an identity. We need a brand. We need a brand that attracts residents who are going to do business with those business owners. And we need to market this community. We also can't discount the impact of quality schools on attracting residents who will do businesses with those business owners in the community.
Thank you. Anyone else? We'll move on to the next question. It goes to Connie Gravovi first. What is the red tape that is keeping businesses from coming here, and what is the solution?
So I have heard the red tape is in the process. So that means that they will meet with city employees that have a certain agenda that they have to get through in order for someone to move forward in the process. And that when they do that, they feel like they dot all their I's, cross all their T's, and yet when they get halfway through the process, go in front of the city council, there's things that have not been addressed in that process before. So I guess the red tape to me is that process again that I talked about in the previous question. And the way to get rid of that is to make sure that you have your clear directions and instructions, and there's clarity coming from the city council so that by the time a person gets to the city council, they don't have to guess if the answer is going to be yes or no.
Thank you. The question now goes to Tim Miller.
The red tape, in my opinion, does stem at the process and city council level. It seems that people feel like they've gone down the roads that they need to and marked off everything, gotten the support of the community, and yet to be denied. I think we really need to be transparent in that process. We need to define it better, so that once we get to the approval point within city council, it's clear, it's cut and dry and easy.
Thank you. The question goes to Kelly Monson.
So for me, the red tape, I work in government, and so I know we don't always make things easy. I would need to talk with some business folks and really engage them and find out what their experiences have been, the positive and the negative, and then bring that to the council to talk about. I would also say that we would need clear procedures for the city staff. We also need to make sure that the city staff have what they need and they're supported to get what they need to have done in order to support these businesses, and then communication with the city council as well.
Thank you. The question now goes to Kathy Bystrom.
Well, I have been meeting with a lot of business owners in the community, and I would say the common thread through each and every discussion that I've had is our taxes are kind of high here for business owners. So I think we have to really take a hard look at what we're going to do about that. How do we know we need to attract businesses, we know we need to attract residents to increase our tax base and lower taxes. So what is that balance of investment and taxation that is palatable for our local businesses? I think those are conversations we need to continue to have with the business community, and we need to ensure that they have a voice in any decision-making on the part of the council moving forward.
Thank you. The question goes to Dennis Batty.
I've been on the planning commission here in Forest Lake, and I've got to sit and listen directly to these people come make their presentations. And I think there's I'm going to oversimplify it a little bit, but there are basically two groups of people that come, particularly as it relates to business. The question was about red tape for businesses, so I'm responding specifically to that. There are two groups of people who come. One is the, I don't mean anything unkind about this because I are one, mom and pop businesses who have no previous experience working with planning commissions or city councils, that sort of thing. And so this whole process is just completely foreign to them. I think we have to develop a narrative that we can hand to people like that right up front. The larger businesses, chain, whether it be chain restaurants, whatever, franchise operations, they're used to doing this. They're clearly understand the process. I think we just have to make sure that they understand exactly what the process is going in.
Thank you. Any additional comments? We'll move on to the next question then. It goes first to Tim Miller. What is your vision as to how to bring the Forest Lake community together in a cohesive manner to build a future?
It's one of the biggest questions that faces any city, especially one that's gone through some of the turmoil that we have here in Forest Lake over the last few years. And the key really is transparency and encouraging community involvement. I think the more people we can get to the city council meetings, not just benefits the city council members to get to understand what it is that's important to the community. But it brings a bigger sense of pride in what's going on in government.
Thank you. The question goes to Connie Grubovi.
So I think we're ready for some innovative ideas in Forest Lake and trying to reach out to the community. I think the city of Forest Lake does a pretty good job of trying to reach out and solicit community information. But is it time to do something a little different than having our city council members sit up here like this? Could we have a table that we sit at and we talk to each other as city council members? Could we have a different kind of forum where community members could come in and engage with city council, maybe on
city council evenings where people truly will feel they are being heard, and seeing a person, looking a person in the eye, having a conversation and getting some immediate feedback from that conversation. So I'm ready for something new, something different, something to shake things up a little bit and not do things as we've always done them just because we've always done it that way.
Thank you. Question moves to Dennis Batty, please.
I think it starts with recognizing that there are differences of opinion. There's differences of ideals, differences of goals, but there has to be common ground. If everybody wants to be part of Forest Lake and wants to see Forest Lake grow and thrive, and there has to be a willingness to find common ground, and sometimes that means backing away from things that you know are divisive. And I think that I like this idea of giving the average citizen an opportunity to voice their opinion in a non-threatening atmosphere. I think that has to be part of it. And I think it's possible to do that. I think that if we're willing, we as a council are willing to be transparent, we can find common ground. We would be willing to give opportunities for people to express their opinions.
Thank you. Question goes to Kathy Bystrom.
Well, I firmly believe that the citizens of our community are our number one asset. And I think we need to engage them authentically. And I agree with, I believe it was Connie Grabovi who said we need to get out from behind this desk right here. We need to recognize that we're not only policymakers and that we have a job to do up here, but that we are also ambassadors for this community. I think the trust and transparency issue is one that needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed quickly. And I think just functional government, providing opportunities for citizens to provide their input, ensuring that two-way communication so they can not only provide their input, but that we have mechanisms in place also to communicate out to them challenges, opportunities, and successes that we're having here too. Let's let them understand and see on a daily basis what's going on in their community.
Thank you. The question goes to Kelly Monson.
Yeah, so this question really hits on a couple of my priorities as a city council member. And really, to start, it's around transparency in government, our decision-making processes. That needs to be open to the community. And when tough decisions are made, you need to be able to stand behind those decisions as council members with the research and the data of why you made, be able to explain to residents why you made the decision that you made. And I would also say, most importantly, is authentic community engagement. This doesn't mean the 2 minutes that you get to come to the podium and talk and sometimes cut off, but this means us, like Kathy and Connie said as well, getting out there, getting out in the community. It's not, authentic community engagement is not transactional. It is about building relationships with our residents. And differences are good. In fact, various perspectives are important. In fact, that's when some of your most innovative ideas come forward. And so I would really like to see us move forward with all of these priorities.
Thank you. Any additional comments? We'll move on to the next question. It goes to Kathy Bystrom first. How would you handle conflict in council meetings?
Well, I do think we have a mechanism in place to allow our community members, and I guess I'm not clear if we're talking about conflict with community or conflict within the council itself.
How about both?
Okay, how about both? I think we have to listen to understand, first and foremost. I think sometimes we get so caught up in kind of our own agendas or kind of the business of the day that we listen to respond rather than listening to understand. We have to really try to hear what is behind that conflict and sit down and have a conversation about it. Conflict resolution can most definitely be a challenge, but again, I think with that open communication and two-way communication and opportunities to come to a point of understanding will certainly mitigate some of that conflict we may have, either with community or within our council.
Thank you. The question goes to Kelly Monson.
Yes, so I would say conflict with community and within the city council is respectful communication for both. That is so important. And I would also say, as a council member, needing to hear both sides and withholding judgment until you hear both. Excuse me. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, allergies.
She's got to sneeze. Question now goes to Dennis Batty.
I tell people when I go to building committee meetings on some of my institutional projects that I charge extra if I have to referee fights and threaten to bring boxing gloves to the next meeting. But obviously that's not the way to solve the problems, but I think it starts and ends with mutual respect. I think I as a member of council of the community have to be willing to listen to both sides of the argument. And even if the decision goes against what I think there has to remain mutual respect.
Thank you. Question goes to Tim Miller.
I'd agree with that. Respect is first and foremost. I think we need to, as council members, respect both sides of every discussion and really listen. Not listening, waiting to take your turn to talk, but listening to hear what that person who's speaking has to say, whether it's at the podium out there or one of these microphones up here, or in whichever manner we decide that we want to have those meetings. But the people of the community, in my opinion, are the biggest assets. Some of the best ideas come from them, and we need to be willing to listen.
Thank you. Question goes to Connie Gravovi.
So conflict is never easy and it's never fun. And I personally, as a nurse, don't like conflict, but I'm put in a position every day where I have to manage conflict amongst people, families, patients, people that don't agree with maybe the track I'm taking. Nurses are huge conflict mitigators between doctors and other providers. But what is my mission in the moment is what I would take a look at in a conflict, is what are we here to accomplish? What do we need to get done? And how can I hear what that other person is trying to communicate? What is their background? Why are they so passionate about what they are coming here to do, whether it be a fellow city council member or somebody that's addressing the city council? And try to get that old-fashioned concept of let's sit down to the table, have a cup of coffee, and at the end of it, let's agree to disagree maybe, but let's shake hands and walk away mutually respecting each other and understanding that we each have our position.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Yes, Kathy.
I would like to echo that statement about underneath that conflict. I think underneath conflict is some root cause issue. And I think it's important for us to really get to the root of that issue. Unless we get to the root of that issue, we are not going to have resolution.
Thank you. Anyone else? We'll move on to the next question. It goes to Tim Miller first. Public services have been lacking in recent years, plowing, street work, etc. Are you in favor of increasing the public works staff?
In short, if that's what's needed. I'd first like to look into why have the services been lacking. Increasing staff, increasing budget isn't always the answer to that. If that turns out that it's solely because the city's grown out of the positions that are there, then I would not be opposed to it. But most importantly, we need to find out what's lacking, what's the most important, and figure a way to solve that issue in a fiscally responsible manner.
Thank you. The question goes to Kelly Monson.
Yes, the very first question I would ask would be why? Why is this happening? Conversations with city employees on why roads aren't being plowed or roads are not being maintained. I think we also need to make sure that we have a long-term plan for our infrastructure, for our Public Works Department. And sometimes staffing isn't necessarily the answer. Sometimes it's really taking a look at our efficiencies and effectiveness, doing different processes. I've done lean and kaizens and looking at, are we making the most use out of what we have before we go ahead and add more?
Thank you. Question goes to Kathy Bystrom.
Well, I would agree with the perspective that I think just automatically adding staff isn't necessarily the answer. I think we need to do a root cause analysis in that situation and take a look at the existing processes that we're using for effectiveness. Maybe unearthing some potential efficiencies in the way things are being done. Order of street plowing, for example. With that said, I also believe that we need to be sure that our city is equipped with what they need, resource-wise, to get the job done and meet the needs of the residents.
Thank you. Question goes to Connie Grabovi.
So I have had an opportunity to meet with several of the city leaders, and at this time, none of them indicate that they have staffing issues that are a real red flag for them. So that would lead me to believe that there has to be a mechanism in place to address specific citizen concerns. So in one of the Meet the Candidates in the Park recently, a citizen came forward and was pretty upset because he said that he has come to the city or has emailed or made phone calls multiple times about a particular issue in reference to his road. So he felt like he's not getting a response to his particular concern. So one of the things, we need to ask people how they would like to be responded to. But thinking outside of the box a little bit, is there a way that we could, his answer was to, how come somebody couldn't just get in their car and come out and look at the problem right now? And in a perfect world, wouldn't that be great, right? If we could just address it immediately. But is there some way the city could put into, and I'll have to stop.
Thank you. Question goes to Dennis Batty.
This is a toughie. I am close enough to a number of the governmental agencies just because of my job to, I think, understand where staffing issues are. But I want Forest Lake to look nice. I want the roads to be, in good repair. And I know it's not easy. And to me, it falls back to having a plan to do this. There are multiple communities here in the metro who have a not a 1 year or 2 year plan, but they have a 20-year plan for not only replacing but maintaining particularly key arterial streets and roads. And I think we have to have a plan, and you have to work to plan.
Thank you. Anyone have any additional comments?
I do.
Yes, Connie.
So to finish my train of thought is that thinking simple is having a sheet that somebody could sign up on having a problem like a plowing issue, a street light issue, something that maybe during the course of the next 10 business days, somebody from the city could take that log or that sheet, go out, meet with that person quickly, address the problem, and immediately provide some feedback within 10 days to the person that was having the concern or the issue.
Thank you. Anyone else? Additional comments? We're going to move on to the next question. It goes to Kelly Monson first. What would you do to keep taxes low?
So for me, taxes, it's really not about spending more or spending less, because that's a non-starter with the conversation. It's really about smart investments. We must engage the residents in discussions around keeping taxes low. One of the things that we need to do for sure has to do with economic development. We need to be attracting more commercial businesses in order to increase the tax base. I also think there's actually so many things that you could be doing that are related to taxes. We have to stop putting the burden on all of our residents. So again, bringing in other businesses to increase our tax base, as well as making sure that things like our parks are welcoming, and we have great parks and we have great trails, and people want to come and they want to move in here. And this is where they want to build their homes. This is where they want to raise their family. That is definitely something to be considered when we're talking about taxes. And it's not something that can just be easily answered in a minute. If I had maybe 20 minutes, I could talk more with you about that and be happy to, and I have to stop.
Thank you. Kathy Bystrom.
Well, I agree. I think we can get to a tax tipping point, so we have to be careful. Obviously, Economics 101 says the way to manage that is to either increase your tax base, increase your revenue in some way, shape, or form, or decrease expenses. So I think we have to look at that full picture in the context of what our community capacity is to absorb the burden of those taxes, or what can be a burdensome situation for them. I think we also need to engage our citizens in some priority-based budgeting around what we view collectively as a community are our priorities, and then we need to look at allocating our resources accordingly. Priority-based budgeting is a best practice for.
And she got the stop sign. Question now goes to Connie Gravovi.
So I wonder, could we look at that question differently? Instead of how do we keep taxes low, what is value added with the taxes we are currently paying? Are there things that we're paying for that we don't particularly care to be paying for? Could that be something we could look at and maybe find areas in the current budget where we could trim fat, or we could look at maybe that's a program that's no longer value added by the community? And then obviously attracting new business tax base would be the smart thing to do, but I think there are things that we have to address, like the process for businesses to come into town and things like that before we would talk about that. So I would be willing to engage in a process that looks a little differently at that question.
Thank you. The question now goes to Dennis Batty.
I have real strong feelings about this, and I'm, everybody's worried about keeping taxes low, and I think it's absolutely a valid concern. But the best way, in my mind, to keep taxes low in the city of Forest Lake is to increase our tax base. We do that by being proactive to business, drawing back business in. We do it by being proactive to developers who will come in and build homes that people will come and buy and pay property taxes on. This community has huge potential when it comes to additional development. Can you imagine asking this kind of a question in Roseville or Brooklyn Center or any of these first-tier communities around Minneapolis and St. Paul that are basically 95% or more developed? We're not even 60% developed in Forest Lake here. We've got huge potential for that. I think the answer is very simply is to embrace new development.
Thank you. Question goes to Tim Miller.
I couldn't agree with that more. Increasing the opportunities for development, both commercially and residentially. I think we need to do that by making this city an attractive place to bring in families that want to live here for the obvious reasons that we're all here, and really make that a main focus, is to look at where we're going to develop and encourage that growth to increase the tax base. One thing I do know is costs in general aren't going down, at least not in our personal lives, and certainly not from a government standpoint either. That said, we do have to really look at the budget and make sure we're spending smartly. Wasteful spending just has no place in a small community.
Thank you. Does anyone have any additional comments? Yes, Kelly
I
Monson.
have one. I just want to agree with Kathy about the priority-based budgeting. And we keep talking about looking at the budget, but budgets really aren't that sexy. And a lot of people probably aren't going to the city's website and reading about them. So is there a way to do a narrative budget to really educate people and show you where your tax money is going? I think a lot of people would be surprised at what it pays for.
Thank you. Anyone else? Kathy Bystrom.
Yeah, traditionally, budgets take kind of an incremental approach. We look at a current year budget and and that becomes the basis for the next year budget. But I think priority-based budgeting really forces us to take a deep look at where money's being spent, to prioritize those services, look for efficiencies and duplications, to focus on doing the important things really well and cut back on the rest, kind of a lean model. It really questions past patterns of spending. Oh, do I?
No, I think she held up the wrong side.
Did she?
That was
Okay,
30
okay,
seconds.
never
Yes,
mind.
Sorry. Anyone else? Additional comments? Yes, Dennis.
When I'm working with a client as an architect, every single project I've worked on down through the years has had a budget. We've had to meet a budget. Budget gets established, we have to meet it. And quite often, the client wants, this much, and they have this much budget. And one of the things that has to happen is that there has to be a balance established between those things. And I talk, it's not original with me, but I talk long and hard about best balance. There is a best balance for every city budget.
Thank you. Anyone else? We will move on to the next question. It goes to you first, Dennis Batty. Can affordable housing be used as a tool for economic development?
That's a great question. I'm sure in some communities it would. I don't know that you can make an across-the-board statement about that. I am absolutely in favor of affordable housing. I realize that it means different things to different people, and I want, coming back again, as an architect, we're at our best when we do things for the best possible price. And as far as spurring economic development, it comes back to supply and demand. And if there's a demand for it, then there should be a way to produce it, and that should stimulate the economy.
Thank you. Question goes to Connie Grabovi.
So I believe in affordable housing for everyone. Not everyone is at a place in their life where they're able to afford something that after 10, 15, 20 years in a career, someone is able to purchase. This question, affordable housing, I think, like has been stated previously, can bring negative connotations, but as a nurse, currently I work with people that are on medical assistance, and they all need a place to live. And they don't need to live in the worst place in the community. So people's health and other things all are based on their environment and other factors. So I believe affordable housing is important. Can it be used as a tool for economic development? I guess that's a debatable thing. I don't know much about spurring economic development from affordable housing, but as a nurse, I'm a firm believer in affordable housing.
Thank you. Question goes to Tim Miller.
I think it can be one of many tools. I think affordable housing is important. Everyone needs a place. I think it encourages business growth as well by adding to the population. That said, I think all types of housing are important. I don't think we should focus just on one thing. I think executive housing, mid-level housing, I think the demand for it will be there in all aspects. So I don't think it's the only tool, but it is a tool.
Thank you. The question goes to Kelly Monson.
So I do believe that affordable housing is a way to economic development. I think first we need a variety of housing and a diverse mix of housing. There is a group right now, there is a housing task force that has just turned into a group called Prosperity Front Door, And there are actually recommendations out there that address this very issue. And it's businesses coming together with philanthropy and government and talking about how to make this happen. And this is exactly the thing that Forest Lake needs to get on top of. And they need to bring this group out there and talk to our businesses. This is also where we need to be looking to our regional partners and our state partners. But I do believe that affordable housing is something that is very much needed and something that we can work on here in Forest Lake.
Thank you. Question now goes to Kathy Bystrom.
Well, when I think about the fact that your housing costs should be typically 30% of your budget, no more than that. And if you are, working in a lower income or a lower paying job, you get up into the range of 45% of your income ratio for housing. It's going to not afford you the opportunity to have those discretionary dollars to spend in the community and where you're living. So in terms of an economic development strategy, I agree that we need a mix of housing. We're seeing an aging population. Seniors are going to be, the baby boomers are going to be retiring in droves. And I talked to many of them that look around our community and can't find anything in the range where the equity in their home is going to cover that cost.
Thank you. Does anyone have any additional comments?
Can I just finish that thought?
Absolutely.
The equity in their home is not going to cover their costs. They're going to have to take out some additional loans in order to be able to downsize, get into a single level slab on grade. When they are living on a little bit more of a fixed income at that point in time, it's going to be very difficult for them to spend or to have the discretionary dollars to spend elsewhere in the community. So we need to look at this broadly.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have one
Yes,
thing.
Kelly.
I just wanted to touch on the point that Kathy talked about our aging population. We're living longer. People are staying in their homes longer, and we need to make sure things such as our zoning codes are meeting what people need to the way that they are living now, and that is something that we also need to look at.
Thank you. Anyone else? Dennis?
Part of that broad look that Kathy mentioned here, I believe, needs to include a look at our zoning, because one of the things that I believe will drive this and will make that affordable housing affordable is lot size. And I know this was a big discussion as part of this current comprehensive plan review. And I think it's absolutely essential if we're genuinely interested in retaining the senior population,
Finish your sentence.
that we've got to do something about lot size. Seniors don't want giant lots. They want simple, small lots that they can build an affordable size house on.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Can I just add one piece too with the lot size? I want to make sure people know this isn't just about building houses, but preserving what we have. We have a lot of old homes in Forest Lake that could be preserved.
Anyone else? Unfortunately, that has to be our last question. I have a whole stack that I didn't get to. But we will now move to closing statements, and we will begin with Kathy Bystrom.
Well, I want to thank the League of Women Voters and the Forest Lake Chamber for hosting today. We have a lot to be proud of in this community. Beautiful natural resources and caring, engaged citizens and business leaders, skilled and effective city leadership, energy, desire, and the will to improve. I really think we're on the cusp of something great here. So why me? I believe I'm a proven leader in this community. I have experience in large, complex systems as an employee of Fairview and as a former member of the school board. I have the skills in strategic planning and collaboration. I've served on multiple boards and committees. But most importantly, I believe that I'm a principled leader. I'm not coming into this with any personal agenda. I've got nothing to gain in this role, simply the passion and the purpose to make things better. For these reasons, I respectfully ask for your vote on November 6th. Let's move Forest Lake forward together.
Thank you. Now with this closing statement, Dennis Batty.
It's been an interesting evening and fun. And I got no flowery statements to make at this point. I'm passionate about what I do in my profession. Those who serve on the Planning Commission with me will confirm the fact that I tend to get passionate about the things that we consider there. And I'm passionate about being involved in city government here in Forest Lake. I'm not using this as a jumping off platform for something else, because this is it. I want you to vote for me.
Thank you. Now with the closing statement, Kelly Monson.
I would like to thank everyone again for this opportunity tonight. The questions and conversations have been thought-provoking and engaging, and I firmly believe that this is the way that we do local government, is to hear directly from the citizens. And as I said in my opening statement, I have a strong love for this community, which is why my husband and I chose to move our family here. We could have moved anywhere, and we chose to come here. I also have seen what happens when needs are ignored or unmet. Every day, my job in government is to make it better, and I want to bring this to my community. When issues arise, I will be there to listen. I will never promise to have all the answers. In fact, no council member should. I will work hard to make connections and work with all of you to find solutions so we can have a better local government. I look forward to gaining your support and your vote this November, and it'll be great working with all of you to help move our community forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Now with her closing statement, Connie Grabovi.
So I have a passion for service and a passion for honesty and integrity in our local government, and I want to be part of that process moving forward. I appreciate the fact that everyone came out tonight and our hosts for hosting this event. I ask for your vote, but more importantly, I ask for the opportunity to meet with each and every one of you that are willing to sit down and have a conversation with me about what your ideas are for our city and about how you think we can move this city forward, because in my experience, we have a lot of experts in the community, and it's your voice that's important, and we simply would be a representative of your voice at City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you. Now with his closing statement, Tim Miller.
And thank you again for putting this event on and allowing the community to get to know the candidates, so appreciate that. It's been a learning experience for me tonight, that's for sure. I promise, if I can have your vote, I promise to keep learning every day, keep listening. I look forward to listening to the needs and the wants, the dreams of the community, working with you all to move forward. I think that's an important message here. Put the past behind us and move forward in a transparent city council.
Thank you. You've heard 5 of the candidates for city council. There are 2 seats. So the top 2 vote getters will be elected. The league thanks the candidates for their participation, the Lakes Area Community TV for broadcasting this event, the City of Forest Lake for the use of their facilities, our league volunteers, and you, the audience, for your attendance and interest. Let your voice be heard. Vote on November 6th. Thank you and good night.